Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1 coming to you live and direct from Studio R here in Colombo. I'm Jaimal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Michaela Fernando. Before we head into more news in detail, here's a look at headlines.
Presidential Commission inquiring into incidents of political vengeance informs Attorney General to halt investigations into the cases of Karannagoda and Dasanayaka. 6 Sri Lankan seamen on board a ship bound to Egypt from China show symptoms of coronavirus. Did China evade providing a loan for the Central Expressway?
China ආණ්ඩුව මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂත් එක්ක තියෙන සම්බන්ධකම් නිසා අවුරුදු 4කට දැන් අවුරුදු 4යි සතයක් හම්බුනේ.
2 groups of the Podujana Peramuna clash in Mahaoya, Ampara. Geeta speaks about her frustration.
මේ පක්ෂයේ වෙනුවෙන් මහත් කැපවීමෙන් වැඩ කරපුවාට යන කලබුකක්.
In your top story, the Presidential Commission inquiring into incidents of political vengeance informed the Attorney General to halt the investigations into the cases filed against retired Admiral Vasantha Karannagoda and Rear Admiral DKP Dasanayaka until the Commission concludes their hearings.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed a Presidential Commission on the 16th of this month to inquire into incidents of political revenge between the 8th of January 2015 and the 16th of November 2019. The first complaint received by the Commission was the case filed against Vasantha Karannagoda and DKP Dasanayaka over the abduction and disappearance of 11 youth. Issuing a communique, the Presidential Commission said that incidents of legal action being filed based on political pressure will be focused upon during the inquiry. Thereby, the Presidential Commission has ordered the Attorney General to halt the proceedings by the Attorney General's Department over the legal proceedings filed against Vasantha Karannagoda and DKP Dasanayaka until the Commission concludes their inquiry and present recommendations to the President.
The Merchant Shipping Association of Sri Lanka has stated that 6 sailors on board a ship travelling from China to Egypt had fallen ill. The president of the Merchant Shipping Association of Sri Lanka, Palitha Athukorala, said that the seamen who had fallen ill were on board the CMA CGM URAL vessel.
According to satellite data, the ship had been docked at 3 Chinese ports for over 5 days. On the 11th of this month, the ship was docked at the port of Ningbo, on the 13th at the Xiamen port, and the ship had then docked at the Shekou port. The ship had arrived in Singapore on the 18th of this month. The port at which this ship docked at are located in close proximity to the town of Wuhan, which was identified as the epicenter of the coronavirus. The port of Ningbo is located 922 kilometers away from Wuhan. This morning, the ship was sailing close to Galle, Sri Lanka, and the ship is due to sail close to Egypt on the 30th of January.
We were informed this morning that all 6 of them are suffering with high fever. Sometimes if Egypt is notified that these 6 seamen are ill, they will not be allowed to dock at the harbour. We don't know if they are infected with the coronavirus, but these 6 Sri Lankan seamen display symptoms of the virus. So the chief officer too is said to be displaying the symptoms of the virus.
Chief officer වෙන ජාතිකයෙක් එයාටත් මේක තියෙනවා කියලා තමයි අපිට දැනගන්න හම්බෙලා.
Now, as it was reported a short while ago, a 43-year-old Chinese woman has been confirmed with the coronavirus and she is currently in Sri Lanka. But she is currently receiving treatment at the Infectious Diseases Hospital in Colombo. And on to more news. Now, the death toll from the coronavirus has increased to 81 in China as of now. 2,744 people have contracted the disease. And meanwhile, the additional Chinese ambassador to Sri Lanka, K. Yoganathan, said that 204 Sri Lankan passengers have left from China to Sri Lanka. Steps have been taken by health officials to grant the passengers entry to the Bandaranaike International Airport through a special terminal. According to health officials, all necessary steps have been taken to prevent the spread of coronavirus in the country, and instructions have been given to all officials at the airport to wear surgical masks. Director General of Health Services, Dr. Anil Jasinga, said that health officials have been able to detect people who have contracted the disease through a special test that has been initiated.
5 people who were suspected to have contracted the disease were admitted yesterday. One of them definitely had not contracted the disease. We received the test results of 2 other individuals. Those reports also confirm that they have not contracted the virus. We are currently expecting the rest of the results. In addition to that, several patients suspected to have contracted the coronavirus have been admitted to the IDH.
Meanwhile, a special action committee was appointed upon the instructions of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. A special discussion regarding the matter was held at the Ministry of Health under the patronage of the Minister of Health, Pavitra Vanniyarachi. Staying on the same story of the coronavirus now, the Department of Immigration and Immigration said that the Sri Lankan students who left China on board a Sri Lankan Airlines flight arrived in the island a short while ago. The President's Media Division issuing a notice said that 21 Sri Lankan students residing in China departed from Tianjin this afternoon, and many students are being transported by buses from Sichuan. The notice further states that the students who arrive from China will be under constant inspection. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the Sri Lankan Embassy in China, located in Beijing, has requested a Sri Lankan flight to land in Wuhan to transport 32 Sri Lankan students and their families back to Sri Lanka. The ministry added that they will work closely with the Chinese Foreign Ministry and the Foreign Affairs Office in Wuhan province to expedite the process of obtaining permission to land the flight. Sri Lankan Airlines has provided a 50% discount to all the Sri Lankan passengers who arrive from China to the island.
Discussions are still underway with the Chinese government to bring our students in Wuhan province, China. We have submitted a publication to the Chinese government requesting the landing of a Sri Lankan Airlines flight to carry our students back to Sri Lanka from Wuhan. Those students can contact us if there are any issues. We are in touch with them. 204 Sri Lankan students departed from here to the island yesterday. They purchased the new discounted tickets issued by Sri Lankan Airlines.
එතකොට මේගොල්ලෝට අපි අවශ්‍ය උදව්වක් කරලා තියෙනවා 150ක් අඩු මිලට ටිකට් අරගෙන තියෙනවා.
The coronavirus that originated from the Chinese city of Wuhan has now spread widely across China and to several countries across the globe. According to China's Xinhua Net news agency, the number of people killed in China by the new coronavirus has risen to 81, with almost 3,000 confirmed ill. 76 of the deceased are from the Chinese province of Hubei. Foreign media reports that there are 2,827 confirmed cases of coronavirus in China. There are 5,794 suspected cases of the deadly virus, while 461 individuals are in critical condition. 51 people who were diagnosed have recovered and were discharged from the hospital. Meanwhile, the national New Year holiday has been extended by 3 days to Sunday in an attempt to contain the spread. Due to the outbreak of the deadly virus, the Women's Olympic Football Qualifiers has been relocated to Australia and the Indo Athletics Championships has also been cancelled. Meanwhile, the Centres of Disease Control and Prevention said yesterday that the number of confirmed cases of the new coronavirus in the United States has risen to 5.
Moving on to more local news, a clash broke out in Mahaoya last evening between two factions of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
The Mahajana Eksat Peramuna, a constituent of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, convened a meeting chaired by its leader Dinesh Gunawardena in Mahaoya yesterday. The meeting was organised by Roshan Malinda, the chief organiser of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna for the Ampara district. Tensions at the scene escalated with the arrival of State Minister Vimalavira Dissanayaka and a few others at the location. When I organised my meeting in Ampara, I was subject to a stone attack by a group led by State Minister Vimalavira Dissanayaka and former Provincial Councillor W.D. Veerasinghe. They got drunk and even tried to stop my vehicle at the 69 junction. How are we to build the country with the 5 great forces? If this kind of thing happens, it will be extremely difficult for us. There is even a threat to my life. We hear as of now that there are people with weapons in hand as well. They are trying to attack the police and engage in politics like thugs. While State Minister Vimalavira Dissanayaka was reached for a comment on this matter, he rejected the opportunity to respond to these charges.
Is former parliamentarian Geeta Kumar Singh disappointed with the present political situation in the country? During a women's forum in Akmimana, the former MP expressed the following views.
I have faced many instances where I was pushed away by new faces to the political arena. Against such a backdrop, artists and sportsmen have also prepared to contest. So what will be the fate of politicians like us who worked hard for the party in the Galle district? I contested in 2010, but I lost. I worked really hard for my party till 2015 and won the confidence of the people. Thereafter, I contested for the provincial council election. After 2 years, I contested in the general election. This election was similar to the board game Snakes and Ladders, where the position of MP was snatched from me. I then took the hardest decision in my life and left my family and the Swiss citizenship to serve the general public. Some politicians do not have any money when they enter politics, but for some, it's the opposite. The chairman of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Professor G.L. Piris, responded to various statements being made about the district from which Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa will contest the general election.
Social media had reported that Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa hopes to contest the election from a district other than the Kurunegala district. That is completely false. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa is not in any way ready to desert the people of the Kurunegala district who brought him a great victory. Mahinda Rajapaksa will contest from this district and not from any other district.
ඒ දිස්ත්‍රික්කෙන් මයි වෙන කිසිම දිස්ත්‍රික්කයකින් නෙවෙයි මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමා තරම් කරන්නේ.
The controversy surrounding the leadership of the United National Party is yet to be resolved. The following views were expressed in this regard at several places today.
We cannot form an alliance without the United National Party. As party backbenchers, we propose that the alliance be formed with the UNP. I believe the public also hopes for the same thing. We will contest the upcoming election with an alliance more powerful than the UNP. This alliance will be led by Sajid Premadasa. This alliance will consist of multiple strengths and will go beyond the capacity of the UNP. One party is only one component of this alliance. Therefore, in my view, the Ranil factor being a part of a broad alliance will not be an issue. If we don't rectify our mistakes, there is no fresh start. We need new leadership. We need a fresh start with a new vision. We already have a new vision. We will reach a final decision in this regard within the next 2 to 3 days. There are several progressive parties that hope to join us. If we set up our base properly, anyone would like to join us. Our only objective is to win 113 seats, and we will achieve this. There is no challenge.
Now it has been a week since the forensic audit on the issuance of bonds by the central bank was made public. However, instead of the law being enforced against those implicated by the report, it seems as if parties involved in the controversy have resorted to pointing fingers at each other.
If the bond scam that happened during the time of our government is compared to a matchbox, the bond scam that happened during the time of Mahinda Rajapaksa can be compared to a lorry. We request that legal action be filed against those bond scams as well. Just like steps are being taken to bring the governor of the central bank during our government to face these charges, do the same to Ajit Niwad Kabral, who was the governor during the time of Mahinda Rajapaksa. He is even in the country. Please arrest Ajit Niwad Kabral and conduct an inquiry into the over 10 billion rupees that was robbed. Who conducted this forensic audit? You would be surprised when you find out that it is not the Auditor General's Department of the country who conducted this forensic audit. The forensic audit was conducted by a foreign company. According to the information available to us right now, we can see that in this forensic audit, steps had been taken to investigate all the scams except the massive scam done by them. They were supposed to audit the issuance of bonds in 2015, but they presented a separate audit and 270 million was spent to compile this audit report.
ආරම්භයේ පටන් කරපු ඒ වංචාවේ විගණනය හැබැයි ඔවුන් ඉදිරිපත් කරේ වෙනත් විගණනයන් ඒ විගණනය සඳහා රුපියල් මිලියන 275ක් භාවිතා කරා.
Do not allow them to demean this report. This is not something done by the Monetary Board. This is not even done by the Central Bank. This matter was handed over to them by the COPE Committee, the Parliament and the Presidential Commission as their responsibility. Now the report has been submitted. Do not go looking for flaws in the company that compiled the report. Find the flaws in the report if you can. All of these people are a part of the same club. Now all the evidence is available. We asked this government why the Attorney General is not filing charges against this. Nab all of the people implicated here. Testifying before COPE, Arjuna Mahendran said that it was his subject minister Ranil Wickremesinghe who instructed him to do it. His name has been mentioned. Ranil Wickremesinghe cannot escape his responsibility as the Prime Minister. His responsibility on the matter is compounded by the fact that he himself assigned the central bank under his ministry and he appointed a foreign national as the governor of the central bank. Many views were expressed in the political arena regarding the 19th Amendment to the Constitution and the two-thirds majority in Parliament. Here are some of those views.
Addressing a political gathering, former President Maithripala stated that the President should be given the two-thirds support for a constitutional amendment. The new president is Gotabaya Rajapaksa, but he does not have the majority in parliament. This was the case when I was the president as well. Mahinda Rajapaksa gave me his support then. He supported me when I got the first parliament acts approved in the first year. I hope what happened to me does not happen to the current president. The reason for me to go through that was because I was from the SLFP and the Prime Minister was from the UNP. That is why we need to give the current president our fullest support so that he can move forward without problems. And to do that, he needs the majority in the parliament. If not, new laws cannot be approved. Without the two-third majority, constitutional amendments cannot be done. The government who could not develop the country back in 2010 asking for a majority again is a joke. In 2015, we had a minority government consisting of 45 MPs. In the 100-day program, we did a lot for the country. We didn't have the parliament majority. We would like to say that we are more than willing to approve any law that will benefit the people. We will begin a systematic process of creating 100,000 jobs and we will give 2 million rupees to all Pradesh Sabha and Urban Council members. All of this, including guiding degree holders to the job market, was done by a government that did not have the parliament majority. That was lost because of the 19th Amendment. When Parliament convened for the first time under the 19th Amendment, and for 4 years more, the President didn't have the power to dissolve the Parliament because a general election will complete the victory gained in the presidential elections. The Constitutional Council is questioning the Attorney General's decision to arrest Judge Gihan Pilipitiya. That is why we passed the 19th Amendment. After that, the power of the amendment was decentralized. These are proof of that. As the Minister of Law and Reforms, my focus is on carefully studying the 19th Amendment and setting up a new process through upcoming amendments. We must start a process where we can supervise the actions of the commissions appointed for various reasons.
Still in local news, although the government began to purchase paddy for the Maha season, farmers allege that the purchase is not being done according to a proper procedure.
The reaping of harvest in the Ampara district commences from the banks of the Galloya. This year, about 42,000 acres of paddy had been cultivated, and the reaping of harvest began a month ago. The farmers had dried the paddy and stored it till today to sell them to the paddy storage facilities of the government. However, the paddy storage facilities in the Galloya South Bank region have not yet been opened by the officers in charge of purchasing paddy. As a result, these farmers were severely inconvenienced. The farmers point out that as the government did not purchase their paddy, local vendors are now buying their paddy at a lower price. We have to sell a kilo of paddy for 30 to 35 rupees. We cannot even cover our costs. Sometimes we cannot even buy food after we pay off all our loans. This country has now been enslaved by voice recordings. When we spoke to the chairman of the Paddy Marketing Board, Professor J.D. Mannapperuma, he said he would look into it if paddy has not been purchased according to these farmers. He added that the officers in charge of the purchase will be questioned as to why the paddy storage facilities had not been opened.
Still in local news now, 2 people were severely injured after an accident that occurred in Kolpiti today.
The accident occurred at around 3:20 p.m. when a truck was travelling on the Ananda Kumaraswamy Mawatha. The incident was captured on CCTV. The truck ran over a person and collided with a 3-wheeler. The 2 people who were injured in the accident were admitted to the National Hospital. The driver of the truck has been arrested by the Kolpiti police and further investigations are currently underway.
Speaking at a media briefing, former Minister of Highways expressed these views about the Central Expressway agreement.
මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ මැතිතුමාගේ ආණ්ඩු කාලේ ඒ ආණ්ඩුව පොරොන්දුවක් දීලා තිබ්බා චීන ආණ්ඩුවට.
During the Mahinda Rajapaksa government, they had promised China that the Kadawatha Meerigama section will be given to China. Since our government would have gained popularity if the highway was constructed, and because of the connection that the Chinese government had with the Mahinda Rajapaksa government, for the past 4 years we did not get a single cent from China. Although the Japanese government promised to fund the 3rd phase, there were some issues that cropped up and we weren't able to hand over the construction of the Pothuhera Galagedara section to anyone. Local contractors came to us and told us that they can construct the section from Meerigama to Kurunegala and asked for the contract to be given to them. There were 16 contractors. 4 companies were formed and each contractor was given 2.5 kilometers each. 38 kilometers of the 40 kilometer stretch from Meerigama to Kurunegala is complete. I request for the remaining 2 kilometers to be constructed and for the road to be declared open. If that section is constructed, the time to travel to Kandy will be reduced to 2 hours.
මේ මාර්ගය විවෘත කරන්න. ඒ කොටස හැදුවාම මහනුවරට එන වෙලාව පැය දෙකකින් අඩු වෙනවා.
No, there is a company that is registered under the name of Dayagamage. That is why I said that this 40 kilometer stretch was distributed among 16 companies. He is one of them. He won the tender. If his work is not up to standard, he can be removed.
ඉතින් එයාගේ වැඩ හොඳ නැත්නම් එයාව අයින් කරන්න පුළුවන්.
Regardless of what former Minister Lakshman Kiriyalla says today, there were a number of issues surrounding the Central Expressway. Initially, it was stated that the first stage will be funded by Chinese parties, while the second phase will be funded by local banks. The third phase was said to be funded by Japanese loans. The minister today reveals that the first phase did not receive funding from China. While the second phase was said to begin with funding from local banks in the form of loans, issues arose when locals expressed their displeasure at the fact that there was no proper environmental analysis or proper compensation provided. The third phase was problematic from the start, and finally funding was sought at astronomical interest rates from the Mitsubishi Bank in Japan. While the third phase was wrought with allegations of violations of tender procedure, it was decided after the tender was presented to a Japanese party that the phase should be completed together with the involvement of the Japanese group and the party that lost the agreement. While the estimate by engineers stood at 123 billion rupees, the contract was awarded at an inflated rate of 134 billion rupees. Newsfirst revealed irregularities of this nature multiple times over the past. As of now, only the second phase between Meerigama and Kurunegala has been completed. Has anything positive happened by engaging in these projects that have brought no benefit to the invested public funds?
According to JB Securities, vehicle registrations in December 2019 have remained subdued.
Total car registrations recorded 2,057 units in December, marginally up from 2,030 units in November but down from the 2,669 units 12 months ago. New car registrations recorded at 244 units in December, down from 264 units in November but significantly lower from 350 units 12 months ago. Pre-owned car registrations recorded at 1,813 units in December, up from the 1,766 units in November, but down from the 2,317 units recorded 12 months ago. The financing share was 45.7%, in line with the normal monthly average.
Sri Lanka's incumbent government recently announced tax cuts which will likely shave off 560 billion rupees from government income in 2020. Will this put pressure on the inflation and monetary policies and result in a wider fiscal deficit?
According to an equity report from Asia Securities, the tax cuts foresees a pickup in consumer activity and higher collections compared to 2019, but also widening fiscal deficit to 6.9% in 2020. Member of the Taxation Committee of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce and Chairman of the International Fiscal Association, N.R. Gajendran, speaking to Newsfirst, highlighted that the new tax system introduced will reduce the revenue in short term.
Revenue incomes, there will be gap, and we are an importing country. If you have huge budget deficit, already we are in deficit, current account deficit and the budget deficit, can be pressure on the rupee. Now in the short term, it is not going to generate that revenue. In the long term, when business activity grows and if the consumption grows and if exports grow, production grows, services grow, then there is a possibility of recouping the revenue loss. So if you want to have a manageable budget deficit, then you have to look at seriously on the expenditure side. You have to look at ostentatious expenditure, wasteful expenditure, corruption, malpractice is one way to reduce the budget deficit.
And on that somber note, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News on TV1. I'm Jamal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team.
And I'm Michaela Fernando. Thank you for watching. Good night.